What's up? This is the Game Forum's Extended Forum, episode 26. Today we're going to be talking about some delayed games, Mind Control DLC for Superhot, Ghost of Tsushima, the Xbox Showcase, Ubisoft Forward, and the Marvel's Avengers Beta release date. But first, what have you been playing?
So, Crossout had another event in. It's very similar to Rocket League. They've done this before. I've been playing some of that. I'm still trying to get through their Battle Pass system. Did finish up Last of Us Part 2. That's about all I've been playing right now. I did get in and play some Switchblade and did a review for that the other day. It's kind of one I've played on again, off again for a little while. It's a free-to-play vehicle-style MOBA game. It's pretty fun. I definitely think if that sounds interesting to you, check it out. The vehicles, I think, are well designed and fairly balanced with each other. It's just there's only one map. I really want some new levels to play on. But, they do keep adding stuff in. They're doing a season event right now to where if you play and compete and get to a high enough score, you can unlock some customization stuff going forward that you won't be able to get unless you play right now. None of the stuff really blows my mind, but I still think it's cool. They're trying new stuff and doing new things.
Yeah, that is pretty cool. Cool.
How about you? What have you been playing, Zach?
So let's say I've been playing a little bit more of that Star Wars Episode 1 Racer. I've almost platinumed it, but it's also not very hard to platinum. I finished through all of the tournaments and stuff, which, I mean, the later ones get really difficult. And I don't remember if I had that much of a hard time when I played it originally on the Nintendo. But it was, God, they're difficult, and you got to customize your ship in a certain way to get some of the trophies, just because you need to get first place in all of them. And it's been fixed now, but before the 1.01 patch, if you didn't get first place on any of the races, you have to redo the entire tournament, which was kind of annoying. But they fixed that now, so you don't have to worry about that. There's a lot of stuff they fixed. They added in cheats to where now you can cheat and get the trophies, but if you do a certain cheat, it'll lock you out of the trophies permanently. You have to re-download the entire game and start from scratch, which is really odd that there's something like that in there. But they call it cheats, but you really just open the debug menu and you can boost your speed. You can make the AI speed lower. You can make them group together. Or you can it's a whole bunch of it's like a green screen of numbers that you could go in and change how the game plays, which is really cool. I was not expecting that when it said cheats. So I played that. I've almost platinumed it. A Plague Tale Innocence, I'm still playing. I'm on the last chapter, so I'll be able to finish that up tonight, and I'm going to go back and platinum it for sure, because the game starts off really strong, but then it starts to teeter off. Then it built up a really cool villain, and then right when it's they introduce this other villain, they kind of they pulled a Snoke and just spoilers, but they're just yeah, he's dead. The villain that's not that cool, he's still alive though. And then they do a time jump, and basically you're playing as an older sister to a little brother. The little brother has this disease called the macula that is tainted blood from the start of time, and that's what caused the Black Plague. Was the blood was trying to come back up, and there was a archbishop that is trying to take advantage of that. And I'm assuming that he's your long lost relative or something like that. And he's trying to get his nephew's blood to make him evil, which is it's fine. It's kind of typical. But then he gets this knight called Nicholas, and he's super cool, super scary, and then he dies like a little wimp. And then now I'm left with this archbishop guy, and then it's oh yeah, I have the little brother now, and time has passed, and your little brother he's with me now, and we're gonna go against you. And so it's like in one scene, you get the information that the little brother Hugo is working with this guy, and then in that same scene, Hugo turns against him and betrays him. So it's like you're trying to convince me that he was totally cool with this for a month, and then in 5 seconds he switches up just because of reasons. So that kind of fell flat. But I mean, the game's still fun. It's very short and it's an easy platinum, which is a big deal to me. I know there are people out there that don't really care for trophies, and I know you're not a huge. You don't really like base a game off of its trophies, whether you like it or not.
No, like for me, if I get close to getting platinum on a game, like let's say I finish it and I really enjoy it, and I've only got 5 or 6 trophies left to go, and I could platinum it, I'll put in the extra effort to get it. But
yeah.
If it's like a thing where like I play through it and I'm like 60 or 70% through it and I still need like 10 or 15 trophies, I'll be like, no, that's okay.
Yeah. For me, I'm kind of a trophy hunter type, I guess. Yeah. So I'll pick games and decide when to play them if they are like, oh, like this, I have 2 weeks to play a game. I could play a game that I'm not going to finish in 2 weeks, or I can play a game that is fun, don't really care about the story, and it's a cool trophy system. So that way I can go through and like clear out the trophies, clear out the game, and it's just like an easier way for me to like sit back and like have something to do, I guess. But
so cool though.
Yeah, I enjoy it. I was like that with the Xbox, getting achievements and stuff. So I have a folder on my PlayStation 4 with games that just says platinum, and it's a bunch. It's I think 12 or 13 games that are like, these are games that I intend on platinuming, but I do not care about the story. It's just throw a podcast on, and I turn the music off on the game, and I lower the dialogue down to where I can still kind of hear it, and I just like mindlessly play the game and just get trophies. So I'll do that every once in a while whenever I don't have like a major narrative game to play. But then sometimes there's things like The Last of Us Part 2 and A Plague Tale Innocence, where it's a narrative game where you care about the story, but it's also like a fun platinum too. Because The Last of Us Part 2 is a pretty good platinum. You just really got to play it twice, which is awesome. But what else did I play? Oh yeah, okay. So there's this game that came out on Thursday called Crosscode. I had not heard about it. I had not seen anything about it. I just saw the launch trailer, watched it, and thought, hey, this looks really cool. It's like a old school Zelda style game. I don't know what I can say without spoiling it, because it's not what I was expecting, and explaining what it is would be like, oh man, that's cool, I want to play it. But on the opposite end, learning that the first time made the game like so much cooler to me, to the point to where like this might be a game of the year contender for me for sure.
So have you already played through it?
No. I'm only like 6 hours in. It's a old school. It looks like a 16 or 32-bit style game, like an old Zelda game. It's like top down type thing.
Yeah.
But you're playing an avatar that is trying to infiltrate into an MMO, but the avatar is slowly becoming self-aware, and like a scientist was basically saying like, hey, yeah, you're being controlled right now. There's someone, controlling you that's watching a screen. And it's very like fourth wall, breaking this meta, kind of really cool. But the game is like, I think it's like 30 hours long, which is awesome. I'm like, dude, this is a game I really want to like sink my teeth into. But I bought it on the Switch because it is like, it's beautiful. It's very bright, vibrant colors. And so I really wanted to like pick up the Switch, play it for, just a little bit here and there, and then put it down. Yeah. And then I got so into it. And then also really good trophies that I could definitely platinum. Bought it again on the PlayStation 4. And then I'm going to use that to capture footage and then review it. I'm definitely going to review this. I don't know when I'll have it done, because it's pretty long. And it's pretty difficult. It's got a lot of puzzles, like a lot of dungeons, like in a Zelda game. So it's definitely not my type of game that I would be playing. But I don't know. It just grabbed my attention. like the combat is the best combat I've played in a game like this before. And it's just like, God, it looks like a normal, hit the Y button or square to do melee attacks. You hit the triggers to do ranged attacks. You use the right thumbstick to aim. Like it's kind of like a twin stick shooter style, where you use the right stick to aim at enemies and stuff, and you can dodge and do all these combos. But then as you're playing through the game, you're like, oh, you hit level 4. You've unlocked the character menu. And so in the game crosscode, the character menu pops up and it's like, here's your inventory, here's your equipment, here's these the huge amount of skills that you can learn. And so it's like in the game, the avatar is learning, like, oh man, this is cool. This game Cross Worlds is what it's called, is MMO, and you're trying to infiltrate it. And I don't know why yet. I'm sure I'll find out eventually. And so when the character hit a certain level, then the game is like, okay, you've unlocked these things like real games. When you hit certain levels, you get certain rewards. And so the avatar is learning all of these things, but then you as a player is playing a video game, hitting a certain level, gaining those. So it's like this, I don't know, man, it is awesome. And a lot of people are really enjoying it. It's kind of like a hidden gem. I'd say I'm having more fun than The Last of Us Part 2, but I feel like that's a bit of a given considering The Last of Us Part 2 is pretty rough. It's not a fun venture to like, oh, you know what, I feel like sitting down, relaxing, and playing a little bit of The Last of Us Part 2. Like that doesn't happen.
It's not really a relaxing game. It's one you really got to focus on, and you're like, one moment you'll be like, oh my god, this is so intense, and I have to really focus.
Yeah. So I think like for Game of the Year, I don't think I'd put The Last of Us Part 2 as my Game of the Year. It's definitely the best game I'm probably going to play this year, but I don't think I'd put it as Game of the Year. For me, it's, as we'll talk about a little later, with Ghost of Tsushima, I feel like that might be it. I'm definitely letting myself get hyped up for that game, so I may be disappointed. But then there's also like Assassin's Creed Valhalla that comes out later this year, so there's a good chunk of games I'm definitely going to be excited for, but Crosscode just really surpassed my expectations, which they were low, so I guess that's not that big of a deal. But it's only $20 too, and so it's like I would suggest people play it. Maybe wait for it to go on sale if you don't have $20 to spend on a game that you might not like. But I was like completely blown away. I was not expecting it to be as awesome as it is. There's really clever story mechanics that are kind of put in the game. I love when a game does something to a character within the game, but then that's also mimicking what it's doing to you, the player, which kind of goes into what The Last of Us Part 2 does. The certain characters' journeys have these certain moments and certain aspects that are affecting them in a certain way, and it affects you in that same way as well. And I think that's really cool. And it's a really awesome palette cleanser to play after something like The Last of Us Part 2. Have this very vibrant, bright, fun game to play. The exact opposite of what that was. But that's all I've been playing. Are you picking up Ghost of Tsushima?
I think I will. It looks very much like a Red Dead kind of like open world, explore, do all sorts of different things game. Originally, I wasn't too interested in it. It looked, I guess, more like some of the Dark Souls games and stuff like that originally. But now seeing some of this other stuff, I'm like, oh, okay, that's not quite the game I expected it to be. So now I'm a lot more interested in it.
Yeah. A YouTuber that I like a lot reviewed the game, and he said if you took the best parts of Zelda Breath of the Wild, The Witcher 3, the Assassin's Creed franchise, and threw in Batman Arkham Knight combat, you basically get Ghosts. And so now I'm like, oh, okay, this, if all goes well, this may be like my game of the year, because it is like, this is gonna make Assassin's Creed Valhalla look like not bad, but plain and mediocre in my opinion, because from what I've seen in the reviews, which we'll talk a little later, it's exciting. I'm excited to play this, and this definitely, I think it comes out this week, Thursday night into Friday. So
I didn't realize it came out so soon.
Yeah, I think it comes out on Friday, so Thursday night I'll be able to play it. So we'll
do a first impression of it then.
Yeah, we'll do a first impressions. We'll have that up by Monday, hopefully. So that'll be really fun. It sounds like we're both looking forward to playing this, so it'll be interesting to see if that continues, once we actually put some time into it. But moving on to our stories, we have 2 delayed games. One of them I called, and I remember saying it. I'm pretty sure I said it on this show. I don't remember what episode, but I remember. Crap, did I say that? I know I told you.
I can't remember.
Yeah, I can't remember either. So Mafia Definitive Edition has been delayed to September 25th, and I knew this was going to happen because they pulled the gameplay trailer. I believe it was in June. They were supposed to show it. Then they moved it to, I think, July 22nd, actually. So next week they're going to be showing gameplay, which I'm hopeful for, but we'll have to see. I'm assuming the delay was because of their backlash for Mafia 2 with how bad the remaster was, but that was a separate team. It's not the one that's working on Mafia Definitive Edition. So hopefully, it'll work out. And then Kingdoms of Amalur Re-Reckoning is going to be coming out in September as well, September 8th. So those were both originally set for August, and now they moved to September. And I mean, it's getting crowded now. Like, there's nothing really major coming out in August anymore, and it's like September, the first 2 weeks of October, and all of November are going to be packed, and most of them are open world games, and I don't know how I feel about that.
There's going to be a lot of similar competition, because especially I would want to get a little distance away from Cyberpunk's release date, because that's the one that I think is really going to sweep everybody, that everyone's waiting on. And I think the closer you get to their release date, the more you're kind of going to be overshadowed.
Yeah, definitely. And now I will say, Cyberpunk, I think, is November 19th, and Assassin's Creed Valhalla got a release date of November 17th. That's probably the one game that could stand up against Cyberpunk, just because it is so vastly different and it is a well-known franchise. So I feel like it could at least hold its own. But anything else, there's no way. Not unless it's like a hardcore first-person shooter. Maybe something like Call of Duty could probably withstand a Cyberpunk game. But I don't know. It'll be interesting.
Yeah. Another bit we got going on this week, Superhot released a DLC trailer, Mind Control. This is the first bit of DLC for Superhot since it came out, and it's been out for like a couple years now. I definitely did not expect this. I really enjoyed Superhot. It was one of the first games I got for the PlayStation VR, and it was a lot of fun. I remember playing it with a lot of my friends. The whole concept behind it is if you stay still, all the enemies stay still, and they only move when you move. But you're pretty much constantly surrounded by people either shooting you, trying to sneak up behind you and stab you. And in this, it kind of looks like you can take over people and control their arms and legs by how you move. So you might be able to like hijack someone, point the gun over, have him shoot his buddy, and then maybe shoot himself. So I'm like, this looks like an interesting add-on, and I will definitely be getting this and playing this when it comes out.
Now, I don't know if it is the standard version, because you can buy the VR one and the regular, like non-VR. But I remember hearing that whichever one of those is the correct one, if you purchased it, you get this DLC for free.
Really?
Yeah, I think I swear I remember reading that. I think it's the non-VR. If you bought the non-VR version, you get this DLC for free, but you'll still have to pay it for the VR mode. I guess because it requires extra work for the VR, which makes sense. But still, that's really awesome to release free DLC for a game this far out. Yeah, because it came out on PC like 2-3 years ago, right?
Yeah, I mean, it came out quite a while ago. I was, like I said, I was very surprised to see any DLC or anything out of Superhot again, because I mean, you know, that I guess they're still working on this game, but I mean, but I look at it compared to I Expect You to Die when that game first came out. Um, it was maybe a year later, and then they started adding in DLC levels for free, and to still kind of be relevant. But I mean, this one's from like several years ago. I'm definitely excited to see it. Like I said, it was just kind of surprising.
Yeah, that is cool. Even with like the Kingdoms of Amalur game, when they announced the delay with the trailer, they also said, "Oh yeah, coming in 2021, the Fates Warren DLC, which is a new expansion." I'm like, "What?" Like this game came out forever ago, and then they're remastering it, and then they're making new DLC for it. But I have a theory that when they bought the game from whoever had it previously, they also got all their assets, and there was a rumor that the team that made the game was also working on some more content before it got shut down. That's a whole interesting story. I would love to look more into that and like maybe even do an episode on it, because it was like 38 Studios was the name. Kurt Schilling, who was a retired like MLB all-star, created a studio and got R.A. Salvatore, who was like this well-known like card making guy, or he might have done something with Dungeons and Dragons. I'm probably completely wrong. Like it was an A team. They started at the studio, borrowed a bunch of money from the state of Rhode Island, was not able to pay it back, and went bankrupt.
Oh
And like
god.
it was like a crazy story, but they released this amazing game. It has honestly like some of the craziest and like most in-depth lore to a video game that doesn't have any lore. Like they created it from scratch. It's not like they took an existing property like like Morrowind, Oblivion, and Skyrim are so well known for their lore, but that was existing. That's they're pulling from a book that are there's stuff already pre-made for that. But with Kingdoms of Amalur, that was all like made from scratch and designed, and they had an MMO that was being worked on. So it's really cool, but it's very rare when games release expansions so long after they come out.
Yes.
Next, so kind of going back with what we said earlier, the Ghost of Tsushima reviews, almost all of them are positive. I think on Metacritic it's sitting at like an 84, which is pretty average, but for a new first party IP from Sony this late in the game, that's really impressive.
Yeah, no, Sony has definitely been killing it with their new IPs lately. They seem to have great creative teams behind them, and they're giving them enough freedom to really express their games the way they intend, which I think is really, a lot of players are seeing that and going, man, I really love this.
Yeah, and this coming from Sucker Punch is really cool because I've never enjoyed really Sucker Punch's games. Like the Infamous series was fine. I actually only played, what was it, Second Son and First Light, which were the PS4 Infamous games, and then I played Sly 4, Sly Cooper, one of those games. I only played one of those. I think it was 4. So I was never like a huge fan of Sucker Punch. They're fine, but then this game is like they were working on it for a long time. It seems like it's well done. It's getting really good reviews. People are comparing it to Horizon Zero Dawn, which was another brand new IP from a studio that made games that were not so great. In my opinion, like Killzone is fine. It's not something to brag about, but to go from that to Horizon is incredible, and to go from Infamous to Ghost, like that's a pretty big feat too. And it's awesome that someone, a company like PlayStation is allowing studios to do that. And like one worry I had was with Sony Bend, that made Days Gone. That game was that was a huge risk, especially coming out, relatively close to another one of their first party zombie games with The Last of Us, but it seemed to have done well. This seems to have done well. There's still much to say about Media Molecule's Dreams, but because that game was riding high, and then now I think I hopped in a few days ago just to like check out to see what was up, and there was maybe like 220 people currently playing it.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's
I
not
know
good.
that they're getting ready to add the VR add-on to it, and I still have to say it's probably like one of the most ambitious games ever.
Yeah, when the VR gets added, that's definitely going to be something that'll boost eyes on the game. I'm definitely going to want to try it just to see what people do in VR, because I feel like you're going to get almost just as good or even better experiences in that game using VR than like another game, because they're not going to take the risk of what someone just creating a game in a game could do.
Yeah, definitely. Speaking about how Sony is constantly changing everything, they are ramping up production on the PlayStation 5. They'd originally anticipated to try and have 5 to 6 million units by the end of 2020. With these new production methods, they're hoping to hit 9.5 million. So I definitely think that Sony is getting some heat and sees how popular their console is going to be. And I think that they are trying to make as many of these as possible. I think they tried to have it a little bit more limited originally, but now with how COVID's doing and hurting their production, and now seeing how many people will want one, I think they're trying to change direction. What do you think?
Yeah, that's definitely the most likely. I wish it was like the price is much lower than we're anticipating, so they're ramping up, production of the PS5 to make sure that they can keep up with it. But yeah, it's probably like, hey, look, more people are staying inside, games are up for some reason, even though we're being told the economy is going down, which I believe it is, but game sales are rising, and this is just a company just taking advantage of it. Like, what? Let's go ahead. Yeah, let's make some more consoles. But then that begs the question, like, well, what stopped them from doing that beforehand? Because I always assumed it was like they weren't able to make more because of COVID, not that they were choosing not to. That kind of
Well,
seems a
I
little
think it was
sour.
kind of both. I
Yeah,
think originally they wanted it to be more limited. They want those news stories of PlayStation 5 is sold out. Um, there might be some delays in some of the games, so they don't want everyone having one and then complaining about not being able to play anything. So I think that they were trying to do a more limited run for more media coverage and
yeah,
control originally. And then I think the COVID stuff started essentially taking that limited number and lowering it even more. Um, so now I think they've had to kind of panic because 5 to 6 million units is not a lot. That is very low for like,
no,
a modern day console launch. So I think they're trying to turn it around and step it up to maybe what they were originally anticipating, maybe even a little more, seeing how popular it is. Because let's say they come out and they've only got 5 million units and Xbox has 15 million units ready. Well, I wanted a new console. There wasn't any PlayStation 5s I could buy, so I bought an Xbox Series X, and now they've just lost that person for the entire console cycle.
And if the rumored Series S cheaper version is also available this holiday, they may be saving a good chunk of change too if that were to happen. So Microsoft's definitely got a widespread. They know what they're doing. Hopefully it works in their favor. And before we get into the Xbox Game Showcase, which is announced for July 23rd, which I'm really excited for, earlier this week, there were some rumors that Sony was going to be announcing the price and release date and open up pre-orders for the PS5. There was a lot of rumblings that were going on. Turns out, though, they were talking to like retailers, Amazon, Best Buy, Target, Walmart, GameStop. I think they were in communication with them, letting them know like, hey, get your servers ready because we are going to be announcing it soon. And knowing that the Xbox Game Showcase is so soon, it wouldn't surprise me that PlayStation, like a day or two, maybe even 3 before Xbox, reveals their games, they're like, oh, hey, here's the PlayStation price, here's the release date, here's the pre-orders. Pre-order now. Screw Xbox, pre-order our console.
Well, Amazon actually accidentally put up the PlayStation 5 pre-order page, and they pulled it down. I don't think there was any price information on it. I think it was mainly just a placeholder page.
Yeah.
But it went up live for a little bit before they could pull it down. So I think Amazon...
I think they're prepping for it to go live, because you got to think, something like Amazon, is if it goes down with people trying to pre-order a PlayStation, that's millions of dollars a minute they're losing.
Oh, yes. So I definitely think that Sony is going to try and sucker punch Xbox on this. It could backfire, because let's say Sony comes out and they say, okay, it's going to be $500, and then Xbox immediately comes out and says ours is $400. They could be doing a reversal of what they did to Xbox in the past. So I don't know. Like I said, I think Xbox has a lot of potential to take some of the steam away from PlayStation. It's just they can't ever seem to get their act together. They keep fumbling constantly.
Yeah, I agree with that. But one thing though is that, like, PlayStation could come out and say $499 and $449 for the digital version, and Xbox could come out and say, well, we're $399 for the Series X, and then we're $249 or $199 for the Series S. I still feel like people will still buy the PS5 just because they are so, like, the games. I think the games speak for themselves. And with Xbox, we don't know what they have, but moving into the Xbox Game Showcase, which is July 23rd, this is their chance. This is their chance to, like, show, like, hey, this is what we're doing. We bought all these studios. They have more studios than Sony does right now. A lot of them have released games in the past, like, 2 to 3 years. So this is the time to at least tease what they're possibly doing. And leading into the new console launch, there's a lot that they can do, a lot that they can message. But if they fumble like they did in May, then Sony has pretty much, they're walking away a winner.
Yeah. So I definitely expect to see Halo Infinite here. Probably some gameplay footage from Halo Infinite. Especially after the last Halo game, I definitely expect to see a lot of footage for Master Chief. Because getting away from him seemed to be highly unpopular. So I definitely see a lot of Master Chief front and center. I'm probably going to see some more footage from Forza. What are some, like, games that haven't really been announced you think we might see here?
So Playground Games, that makes the Forza Horizon Zero, the Forza Horizon series. They have a second studio, and the rumor is, it's pretty much all but confirmed now, is that they're working on a Fable reboot. So I definitely think we see that. I think that gets announced with a 2021 release date, maybe fall of 2021. Fall of this year, definitely Halo Infinite and Forza 8 will be the two games. There could be some smaller exclusives that come out as well. That Hellblade Senua Saga 2 is probably early next year. One thing, though, is the Initiative Studio, which is based in Santa Monica, and it's designed to compete with Sony Santa Monica studio or Naughty Dog. They want a action third-person narrative story game that is a heavy hitter like Uncharted or God of War, The Last of Us. And that studio was formed not that long ago, but I think we could get a teaser as to what they are working on.
That would be really interesting to see. I know they've tried to do essentially their own versions of, some of those games in the past. And I just think if you're trying to copy somebody, you're never really going to be as successful.
Yeah.
What I think they're going to have to do is come up with something new and original of their own, because if it looks like, okay, this is God of War, except it's a female, and instead of 2 knives, she's got 1 spear. I'm like, you're not selling me on this. This
Yeah.
isn't Nathan Drake. This is Blathan Make, and he's totally different. And I'm like, no, he's not. I'm like, Xbox really has to show that, they can come up with their own ideas, their own unique worlds. And I think that's what's really been lacking, is just the level of creativity. And I definitely think that Fable, it would be a great franchise
Oh yeah.
to modernize. Because, it's got a really cool concept behind it. They can really go, do a deep dive into this world and how the world changes depending on, your decisions in it. And I think that would really resonate with a lot of people, especially right now.
Yeah.
It's just they've canceled a couple Fable reboots over the years. So we'll see how they end up handling this one.
Yeah, and I think if this was a normal E3 and they announced Fable, that would get the same reaction at their showcase as announcing the sequel to The Last of Us got, Like
Oh, I would
Fable.
agree.
Oh yeah, Fable is huge.
So speaking of new games coming out, Ubisoft just had their press conference the other day, the Ubisoft Forward press conference. There's definitely a lot of standout games with this too. We saw a lot of actual in-game footage from the new Assassin's Creed game. I know
Yes, we
you're a
did.
big Assassin's Creed fan. What do you think about seeing some gameplay?
So one thing that is pretty obvious for fans of Assassin's Creed is that it doesn't vary much from Origins and Odyssey, which is a little disappointing, but also expected. They found a formula that works, so why change it too much? But there's little things here and there that I'm hearing through a podcast or first impressions that is reassuring me that this is going to be a very, very good Assassin's Creed. Some of that is the town building, the raids, the customization. You can recruit people. The exploring of the world has died down to where it's not so much like open up your map. Here's a bunch of check marks. Go there. It's like as a Viking, you go to new lands. You don't know what's there, so you in the game, you don't know what's there. So the map is completely fogged out or blacked out, and so you're discovering it as you go. They're doing away with side quests. Instead, they are all interwoven narratives that will continue, kind of similar to what Days Gone did, which that really excites me. The combat looks more tactile compared to something like Dark Souls or Sekiro. The customization, the equipment looks cool. The weapons are going to be cool. What is it? There's like mystical abilities also in there, which is expected. So it looks like the same thing, but innovated in ways that got me excited, especially it being a Viking setup. Has me really, wanting to explore what they do with that and everything. So as a fan of Assassin's Creed, I am excited, but to be fair, there's nothing that they can't do that's not going to excite me, it being an Assassin's Creed. So it's you slap Assassin's Creed on anything, I'm going to be excited as long as it looks like it's a open world Viking RPG, and that's exactly what it looks like, and I'm good. That's all I wanted.
So another game that I had seen a little bit about that did kind of interest me in this was Hyperscape. This seems to be like kind of a battle royale take. It seems to borrow a lot from Apex Legends. Definitely seems to be a much faster pace with a bigger focus on verticality.
Yeah.
So a lot of really cool guns. One system that this game implements that I think is genius, that I would love to see in more battle royales, is if you find, okay, let's say you have a weapon like a M16, and you go over and you pick up another M16, instead of just being like, okay, the whole level's just scattered with M16s and I have a basic one and that's it. if you pick up another one, it upgrades the one you already have. And I'm like, that is really cool. Because I can't tell you how many battle royales I've played where, okay, you pick up this version or that version, and the basic versions of a couple of guns are scattered everywhere. Well, now you can be, okay, should I keep that basic gun and keep upgrading it, or swap it for one of these better guns that may be a lower version I might not find as many? That adds a really cool concept to this. That and their respawn system, instead of having a kiosk where you can go and respawn a teammate away from the action, you have to kill an enemy. And when you kill that enemy, they drop like a pad you can use to respawn your fallen teammates. I'm like, that's cool, because that means you have to get in there and do some damage if you want to bring some of your friends back. And also, their friends might still be around, so you have to do it really quick, too. So it's really putting forth some interesting ideas. I don't know if it's really going to, shake up the whole battle royale market or anything, but it's bringing some new concepts to the table that I'm really interested to see implemented like this.
Yeah, and like with traditional battle royales, there's a circle that closes in, which keeps the pace of the action going and makes it, more tense. With this, it's set in basically Paris. It's an urban city, and there's districts, and those districts will start to dissolve because it's in a digital space. The hyperscape is like a VR thing they put on within the game, and so like if you're in district blah blah blah, it'll start to dissolve. So that's when it's like, okay, we need to get out of here. So it forces you in a very creative way of moving to location without it being the typical circle closing in. And it is so cool that seeing, a company like Ubisoft take on a battle royale and change it in ways that I was not expecting. And that's not even talking about the Twitch integration that it has, to where, if you're streaming it on Twitch, people can affect certain things within the game.
Mm-hmm.
And then like that's pretty awesome. That's incredible. And it's free. It's coming out this summer. It's coming to console and PC. Like this might be the battle royale that grabs me.
Yeah, no, I definitely intend on playing this one. It adds enough unique variety to it to make it feel fresh and different, while maintaining some of those key aspects that have worked so well for other games. So it definitely has my interest. Another thing they just announced was Far Cry 6. That trailer was pretty intense.
Yeah. Having the guy from Breaking Bad and The Mandalorian as the villain is perfect.
And the facial capture system they're using is incredible. This is like borderline like getting photorealistic now, because looking at him, if you just showed a picture of that to someone off the street and didn't tell them it was a video game, I think there's a pretty high chance they would just think it's a photo of him.
Yeah. There's the release date of February 18th has me excited. That's not far away. It's set in the 1980s in a South American island, tropical island. Like, there's nothing about this that does not have me excited. And there's rumors that the Diego, the son, is Voss in Far Cry 3, because Voss had a similar background that he brought up, and there's a scar on his eyebrow that is the exact same scar that Voss has in 3. So there's rumors that it's a prequel to 3, and this is Voss's upbringing and how he becomes so crazy. It's good, man. I'm really excited about this. Far Cry is another favorite of mine from Ubisoft. It's looking good. Of course, we didn't see gameplay. There are some screenshots that have come out. I mean, it looks good. It's definitely something to look forward to, especially if you're a fan of open world RPGs. Set with the Ubisoft formula.
So the last big one they announced or showed some more gameplay of was Watch Dogs Legion. This one looks okay, not quite my thing.
Yeah.
But I definitely see that they put a lot of work into this, though. What do you think? Is this one you're going to get, or how do you feel on this?
I definitely want to play it because I think it would be really cool to create my own narrative of like, because you know, there's no one main protagonist. It's you have a plethora of people that you can pick from to join DedSec and kind of do this revolution thing, and so that would be cool. Like, ooh, you know what? I only want to get like MI6 operatives and just like only recruit them, and then that's who I have to choose from, and then like, okay, I got the hacker and then I got the medic, or you know, however it's set up, but then be like, oh man, my hacker died. Okay, I got to go recruit another hacker, and then you stop the story and you go out in the street and you're like, all right, well, I got to find. Hey, that person looks good. Let's go talk to him. That's cool, but I can't imagine the writing this game narratively must have been a nightmare because like it's the illusion of choice. Like it doesn't matter who you select, the story is gonna have to be the same.
Yeah.
And that kind of like Watch Dogs is not a game that's known for its narrative at all. But having a Watch Dogs that takes away the emotional impact, well, I don't know. Maybe if you go out and you recruit someone yourself, then maybe there's a connection there. I don't know. This game is something that I need to be hands on with, but I don't think I'm going to be getting day one, especially with the release date. I think it's late October. It's like 3 weeks away from Assassin's Creed. There's no way I'm picking this up on launch. It's definitely a wait for sale. But
Yeah.
I mean, I'm looking forward to playing it for sure. But it's not a, oh man, I got to get this day one, which is unfortunate because this game should have been out by now. It had the release date of March, like mid-March, and it got delayed. So it probably would have done really well if it came out in March, but if it got delayed, there must have been a good reason for it. Maybe it was to put it on the next gen consoles, which I think would have been a bad call. They should have kept it in March.
Yeah, I think if they put this game out in March, it would not have had nearly as much competition as it's going to have now. You'd see a lot of people sitting at home, bored, wanting to play something. I think it would have sold like hotcakes. I think putting it this close to the next generation with all these other games coming out in that time period is probably going to tank this game.
Yeah, and I hate to say it, but this may be what kills the franchise for Watch Dogs. I don't think we see another Watch Dogs after this, but there's a silver lining in this. Ubisoft Montreal, the team that is working on the Watch Dogs series, is the team that made the Splinter Cell games. So I will kill Watch Dogs to get Splinter Cell back. I don't care. Like Watch Dogs can go out in the pasture and die as long as we get Splinter. As long as it's Splinter Cell, Sam Fisher, putting the bullet in the last Watch Dog. I don't care. I just want Splinter Cell back. And they kind of teased it in the Ubisoft Forward with that Elite Squad, that mobile MOBA, and it has Sam Fisher.
Yeah, that one didn't interest me.
Yeah, like everyone wants Splinter Cell, and then they show him or they show Sam Fisher in a mobile game. Like that's, they're really wanting to hurt people. But they did announce another Ubisoft Forward later this year, so maybe they have some more games up their sleeve that we don't know about. But we'll just have to wait and see. And then moving on to our last story. If summer wasn't already packed, we now have the Marvel Avengers beta dates, and it goes like this. So August 7th, we're going to get the PlayStation pre-order. So if you pre-order the game on a PlayStation system, PlayStation 4, you get access to it. August 14th, it is Xbox and PC pre-orders, and then PlayStation 4 open beta. And then August 21st, it's open for everyone. This is a lot of dates for this game to be played. That either I can't decide if that has me worried or excited that like, oh yeah, they're confident. So they're like, yeah, the whole month of August play our game, or it's like, please for the month of August play our game so we can know what to fix or what's broken. So I don't know, but I'm actually really excited to play this. How about you?
Yeah, I'm interested to play this one. We'll definitely have to do a first impressions off the August 24th open beta and see how we feel about this. The biggest things that I have on this game is how much content is there going to be? Is this going to be like Destiny where there's so much stuff you can't ever play everything? Or is this going to be like Anthem and after an afternoon you've done everything there is to do?
Yeah, I imagine it's going to be you run through the campaign, which is probably going to be 6 to 8 hours long, and then there's going to be missions that are replayable and fun that you play with other people. That's the live service point of it. And then I imagine you're going to be incentivized to like, okay, well, yeah, I play through and leveled up Hulk. Okay, well, now I want to play Black Widow, and then I'm going to level her up and get her equipment. Now I'm going to play as Thor. I'm going to level him up and level his up, get his equipment. And so if the levels are well designed and the gameplay is fun and the story is decent, I think this game could be at least decent. You know, it could do okay as long as because it's got characters that people care about, and if they release, you know, more people and or more characters, more missions for free, which they said they will at a steady rate, then this game could survive. I mean,
like I said, I'm a very big Marvel fan. I've watched all the movies. I like knowing some of the lore behind everything. I'm just a little hesitant on this. I'm like, I find it hard to imagine how many levels they're going to have. You know, is this going to be, okay, if you play through a level as the Hulk, you know, how are they going to balance that out with you playing through the level as, you know, Black Widow? Like, is the Hulk going to have completely different abilities? Will he be able to pick up cars and throw them? Black Widow won't be able to do stuff like that. Well, how are they going to balance these characters out to where, like, okay, I want to play as Thor, because Thor gets the hammer, he can throw the hammer, he has lightning powers, he's nearly indestructible, versus Hawkeye. I have a bow and arrow.
Yeah.
You know, like, how are you going to balance this out? Is kind of how I'm curious to see about this. Like, if I'm level 100 with Hawkeye, is he going to be that much better than like a level 1, you know, Thor? How is this going to work exactly?
Yeah, and then also like if I'm playing Iron Man, how many invisible walls am I going to hit, or how many times am I going to get 5 seconds to return to the map? You know, like giving a character like that and have his mobility restricted into like a small area, that's not going to be fun.
Like I said, I'm cautiously optimistic. I think the idea of a Marvel Avengers game sounds really cool. Yeah, especially after the launch of Anthem, I'm a little hesitant on these style of games. I did play a ton of Destiny, and I had a lot of fun with Destiny, but it takes a lot of work to get this done right. So,
yeah,
like I said, I'm interested in it, but I'm a little bit more cautious about it.
Yeah, and with the release date of September 4th, that's not far off from the expansion for Destiny 2 coming out September 22nd. You know, and that one looks good. It's a lot of people are excited about that. They're bringing in some content from Destiny 1, so it is kind of like they're competing with somebody that's been around for a while, but they also have the Avengers or the Marvel Avengers, you know, title. So there could be, you know, Joe Schmo breaks COVID laws and goes into a store and tries to buy a video game, then I would imagine they're going to be more inclined to pick up the game that says Marvel on it as opposed to, you know, an expansion to Destiny 2.
Yeah,
So maybe that'll work in their favor that they can slap on Marvel, you know, on their
but at
game.
the same time, though, I think the people who are going to want to play this are also the same type of people who want to play Destiny and probably already have played Destiny. And now there's a big update to bring them back into Destiny or pick up a new game. So I could kind of see it both ways.
Yeah, that is true. But I mean, they're being very generous with their open beta, so that's either good or bad. I can't decide, but I can't imagine that they're going to open up their game so many times in 1 month if they weren't confident in it. And this being Crystal Dynamics developing and Square Enix publishing, those are, you know, a high quality studio with a pretty decent publisher, especially coming off of Final Fantasy VII Remake. So I think there's a bar of quality that is set that is going to be high and is much. They're going to care more about this game than EA did with Anthem. At least I hope.
Yeah, I would definitely hope so. There definitely seems to be a lot more focus on some of this. And from what I've seen, it already looks like it's a lot more fleshed out than Anthem anyway.
Yeah, that is true.
Tell us what you guys think about this game in the comments down below. Is it going to be the next Destiny, or is it going to be the next Anthem? And until next time, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.